La 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 la. So high, so high. Hi, Tiffany. Welcome back to my gardening center. How are you? How have you been? How's it going? It's been so long. I missed you. How have you been? Be honest with me. Tell me everything. I want to know. Anyway, back to me. So today we have a recommendation video. Not just any recommendation video either, like a horror recommendation video, a summer horror recommendation video. I hope you're ready. Hope your pants are dry because they're about to get wet. That's a lot right off the top, and I know, and I'm sorry. Prepare to soil yourself with many liquids, I'm sure. I don't know which ones. I'm not assuming. I don't know what your liquid situation is like. Before we get started, I want to talk to you about something really quickly. I am a dark academia girly. Obviously, look at my button up. I'm a dark academia girly, which means that I'm always constantly looking for like vintage items. I'm always looking for a little bit of like a rustic. I'm always looking for a little bit of like a dark mahogany. But it's hard to find those things for an affordable price. And like, listen, I know I look rich. I'm not. When Temu approached me and they were like, Jordan, let's work together, I was like, you bet your bottom dollar. For me personally, I'm able to find vintage-esque things that I like, and the price is not breaking the bank. It's not making me go under. Guaranteed you know what Temu is, but just in case you don't, Temu is an online marketplace that offers competitively priced items in a bunch of different categories. Like literally, if you can think it, Temu probably has it. I've ordered so many things from Temu, and what I love is that it's free shipping, because I honestly hate nothing more than when you like get all this stuff, you put in your cart, you go to the shipping page, it costs more than the things you're buying. No, thank you. So we have free shipping, but then also we have free returns up to 90 days. So if you don't like something, or if you want to return it, you have 3 freaking months to return it. That's crazy. Temu very kindly gave me a little credit to use on the app, which by the way, you can download, a link in my description, but we'll get to that in a second. And I got the cutest things you've ever seen in your entire life. First of all, this headband, look at it. It's like a velvet material, and it's so cute. I look so cute. I also picked up this cardigan, which might be the cutest thing I've ever seen in my entire life, personally. Like, I don't know about you, but I love this cardigan so much. It's like a little cropped situation too. It's the cutest cardigan. And not only that, I also picked up a few like bookish accessories. So I got like a book light, which the other night I was using because I was kind of reading in the dark, and I was like, wait a minute, I got something from Temu for this situation, and I used it and it was wonderful. I also got a little bookmark that looks like spilled coffee, which is again the cutest thing. It's like a little symbol of everything I love: books and coffee. The piece de resistance is this gorgeous storage box cabinet. I plan on getting 3 or 4 more because also they have like different varieties. It has this beautiful like embossed kind of glass. The wood matches my desk. I've been using it for craft storage. It's been wonderful. Suffice to say, everything I've gotten from Temu has been so good quality, has been so cute. I'm obsessed with this app. Download the Temu app using my link in the description to get a $100 coupon bundle, or you can go in app if you already have it, which I'm sure you do, and use this coupon code to get the bundle. Once again, check out the link in my description, download Temu, get $100 in coupons, and save even more money than you're already saving. Thank you so much to Temu for sponsoring this video. Let's get back to business. The first book I want to talk about is kind of weird. Maybe it's not weird. It's actually kind of like a bummer. When I was looking through my shelves thinking like, what is like a summer recommendation? And I saw this and I was like, I don't know, it kind of has like a summer vibe. Starting at like a low point, but that means we're only going up from here. Do you know what I mean? And that is The Girl Next Door by Jack Ketchum. If you have read this book, if you know what this book is about, it's not fun. It's based on a true story, I think, about a girl whose name is Sylvia. It's horrifying, okay? It's horrifying. It's a bummer. It's about a child being tortured and killed. That's a bummer. I've only read this once. When I did read it the whole time, my heart was in my asshole. In this book, we are not following the girl who gets tortured. We're following this boy who lives in the neighborhood and knows the girl. These 2 girls, Meg is the older one, Susan is the younger one. They were in a car accident, and Susan is now, I think, paralyzed and is wheelchair bound, but both of their parents tragically passed away. And so they're both sent to live with their aunt. And that's where this like boy lives. Like he's on like the same block as this woman. And slowly the aunt starts to abuse Meg. In her abuse, her then 3 sons also join in the abuse. And then more children join in. And it's like a whole neighborhood thing. The aunt is like this ringleader of these children. Tiffany, it's horrifying. But I'm saying right now to you right here, right now, first of all, check the trigger warnings. Don't be dumb. Also look up the real case because it's also horrible. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe it was a mistake to recommend this like right off the bat. Maybe it was a bad call on my part to start the video. Like, what if you read this book about a young girl being tortured? Like, that's weird. I shouldn't have done that. Now we just have a bunch of fun stuff. Slimer by Harry Adam Knight. I've talked about this, I think, last month or 2 months ago. I really like this book. Also, can I just say, this cover, basically in this we're following, I think, a group of 6 people. They were all on like a yacht smuggling drugs. You know how you're just like on a yacht sometimes and smuggling drugs, and then their yacht like sank, and so they're all on this like lifeboat situation. It's been like days. They're on the open sea, the open ocean. Things look bleak. Looks like they're gonna have to start killing each other and eating each other, that kind of situation. Then they see this oil rig and they're like, oh my God, finally we have help. It's, oh, God bless America. They're all so happy. So they get up to the oil rig, they climb up on board or whatever. The fucking thing is empty. There's nobody on board of this oil rig. But there is something actually on board other than them. Something that might have also dispatched with the people who were on board to begin with. This for me is kind of like quintessential summer vibes. Like there's nothing more summertime than like slasher fever. And that's kind of what this gives me, but like it's less slasher, more like goo monster. Speaking of people being isolated, we have The Forgotten Island by David Sodergren. I read this in a reading vlog. I will link it down below. As you probably know, I fell in love. Listen, did it ruin my life? Yes. But like, was I better for it? Also, yes. This is about this girl named Anna. Anna decides to go to Thailand with her sister and her sister's boyfriend. And Anna's like really not much of like a Thailand kind of girly. Like she's much more of like stay at home, look at spreadsheets kind of girly. But she decides to go because her and her sister have been kind of like estranged. After one crazy night of partying, Anna and her sister find themselves on like a yacht with a bunch of other random people. And they're like, okay, we got really fucked up last night. And now we're on this yacht and we're sort of floating off into sea. It's not great. And then they come across this island, this forgotten island. Things on the island should have maybe remained forgotten. I absolutely loved this. The characters, the switches of perspective, the gore, my brother in Christ, my sister in Christ, the absolute body horror. Like there were points of this book where I was like, it can't get worse. And then it would get worse. It's so fucking cool, Tiffany. It's so cool. If you haven't checked this out yet, you need to. This book is pretty obvious. Like, I feel like when you mention summer horror, somebody brings this up. And like, listen, am I a fan? Sure. Am I like a diehard fan? Absolutely not. But I'm still gonna mention it because I feel like if you haven't read this, it's like a rite of passage in terms of like horror books, I suppose. And that is The Troop by Nick Cutter. I think this is the only Nick Cutter book I've actually read. I'm gonna say something crazy, you know, and try not to hate me. I kind of feel like The Troop is like a poor man's The Ruins by Scott Smith. Don't shoot the messenger, even though I also came up with the idea. And so, but either way. Anyway, again, I'm not here to talk shit, but The Troop is about these scouts. I'm assuming they're like Boy Scouts kind of vibes. They're like off on an island with their like scout leader. They're like chilling. I think there's like a group of boys. One night, this man comes to their cabin and he's like gross. This dude is like disgusting. Like his skin is falling off. He's like weird. The vibe is off with this guy. And so he comes and he's like, you know what I mean? He's like dying and then he dies. And thus like this infectious disease kind of spreads amongst these kids and this Boy Scout thing. And it kind of becomes like a fight for your life kind of moment. I enjoyed this book. I thought it was good. I don't really think about it though, if I'm being honest with you. Like, you know those kinds of books where you're like, it's like 4 a.m. and you're just awake and you're like, wait a minute. what the fuck was going on? Like, or like it'll just like pop up in your head randomly through the day. This is not one of those books for me. I know that it is for some people and like work, but for me, not really. I would say honestly like a modern classic in terms of like horror. Like if you haven't read this and you're into horror, you should read this. The next book I want to recommend to you isn't even a book, it's a manga series. I have the first 2 volumes, and that is The Summer Hikaru Died. I'm obsessed with this. And like, maybe it's because it's like gay as well as being horror, but like, I'm sorry, summer is in the title. The art is absolutely stunning. In this, we are following Yoshiki. Yoshiki has this best friend named Hikaru. Hikaru and him have been like this for forever. But lately, things have been a bit different because Yoshiki has noticed that Hikaru isn't Hikaru. It looks like Hikaru, speaks like Hikaru, walks and talks and moves around and has the mannerisms of Hikaru, but it is not Hikaru, and he knows that. Something has taken Hikaru's place. That's all I'm gonna say, because going into it, I literally had no idea what to expect, and what I got was crazy. It was crazy, Tiffany. All I'm gonna say is it's fucking scary and it's gay. It's like a horror BL, which in my heart, oh. Okay, next up, we're gonna talk about a book that everybody has read, but I also feel like if you haven't read it, it's probably because you don't want to read it. But that is Tender as the Flesh by Augusta Bazterrica. Everybody knows what this is. Like everybody, because it's like, you know, big on TikTok or whatever. Listen, I don't know why I thought it was like summer-ish. Like why? I feel honestly it's because it would be short. I feel like summertime reading is like a very specific kind of feeling. It's like where you want to sort of get through like fast-paced books, because I feel like the summer is like this very fast-paced, quick thing. Anyway, this is about this dude who works in a meat processing plant, like a meat factory. The only thing is that like with this specific world, in this specific time, meat by means of like cows and pork and chicken is now defunct. Like if we eat those animals, we'll get diseases, we'll die. It's not a good vibe. What we've done instead is we've genetically modified stuff, and we've like created clones, or we've done some kind of science thing, and now we can like have humans made specifically for us to like eat them. Honestly, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, why couldn't we just do that with the cows? Also, why couldn't we just start eating tofu? Like, I'm sorry, has nobody ever heard of like a tofurkey? Like, hello? So everybody's like, we don't want to go vegan. We want to still eat meat. Blah, blah, blah. So we start eating humans. We're following this one guy who works in one of the factories. That's all I'm gonna say. This book destroyed me on many, many levels. But like, that's the thing too about this book specifically, is like it destroys you, but you don't know you're being destroyed. Like it was eviscerating me. I was becoming nothing, but I didn't even know it. It was unraveling me one thread at a time, and I didn't even fucking see it, Tiffany. The ending of this book made me want to puke my heart out. I don't mean like puke really hard. I mean like it made me want to like puke up my own heart so that I no longer had to deal with the weight of it. That's all I'll say. Let's talk about this book, which I think I talked about in a few videos back, and that is This Wretched Valley by Jenny Kiefer. This is about this girl named Dylan. Dylan gets approached by her friend, and he's like, come to this cliff mountain thing because I found it and no one's ever climbed it. And that's the thing about Dylan too, is like Dylan's like a mountain climber. She's like a climbing influencer. Like, she's got a few thousand followers on Insta. It's like her dream for that to be her job. So she's like, okay, with this I could like become like super famous. Like they could like name the mountain after me. Dylan, this dude, Dylan's boyfriend, and this girl named Sylvia go to this cliff, and you know, things go wrong. Also, there is a dog. The dog doesn't die. For me, this book is like first world problems. I want to be famous on the internet. And then like they're faced with like imminent death. I really like those kinds of books. And I also just love a good fight for your life kind of book. Let's move on to Now You're One of Us by Asa Noami. Maybe I honestly think of summer when I think of this book because I read it, I think 2 years ago in like August. So when I think of this book, I just think of summer. But hold on to your bussy boots, okay? This is about this woman. She marries into this family. They're pretty well off. And like, she didn't marry into the family because they're well off. She married into them because she like actually loves her husband. So she marries into this family. She moves into the house. And where the book starts, she's already married into the family. She's doing laundry outside when this man comes up to like the fence basically. He's like, hey, what the fuck? Who are you? And she's like, I'm sorry, I'm literally married to Tim or whatever. I'm not sure. I can't remember what her husband's name is. Married to the son of the family. What do you mean? And he's like, oh no, you shouldn't, you can't. She's like, excuse me, that's really rude. He's about to tell her something. He's about to say like, you need to leave, like blah 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 blah, when her mother-in-law comes out and is like, oh, Roger, how funny of you to arrive. It's the first, right? Yeah, it's the first of the month, and you haven't given me the rent payment yet. That's so funny and strange, Roger. And Roger immediately, our main character can tell, is visibly afraid. And our main character clocks that. And she's like, the fuck? But Roger, he's like, oh, I actually, the reason it came by was because we can't pay rent for this month. So we're gonna have to cut that scene, you know? And then I think like a week later, guess who's dead? Guess whose whole family is dead? Guess whose business and building burned to the ground? Guess whose skeletons they found amongst the ashes? Fucking Roger, dude. Roger and his whole fucking family. Do you think you have any idea what the fuck is going on with this book based on that summary? You have no idea. This is crazy. Next up, let's talk about Confessions by Kane Minato. Confessions is a Japanese novel, very similar to Now You're One of Us, in that it's Japanese, it was translated, etc. This one is very, very popular. I think amongst like BookTube. I'm not sure if it's reached TikTok, but I read this, I think, 4 years ago, the beginning of my channel, when I was just like a spry young child. This is about this teacher. Okay, she walks into her classroom. It's the morning time. It's like 9:30. What time does school start, actually? I think it's like 8:30. She walks in the morning. She's like, hello, class. It's so good to see you. Oh my God, Lizzie, how are you? It's been so long, whatever. She stands in front of them. She says, today is my last day of working here and being a teacher with you children. And the children are horrified. They're like, no, what? You're leaving? What? No. And like, everyone's very upset. She's like, no, this is how it's supposed to be. I can no longer be at this school. I can no longer teach at this school because I hate two of you with my entire life and soul because you killed my daughter. And shock and awe amongst the students. Everyone's like, oh my God, what the fuck? And the teacher goes on and she's like, I know that it was you, Timmy, Billy. I know it was you. Don't pretend like I wouldn't know that it was you. I know that you drowned my daughter. But don't worry, I'll get back at you. Thus begins a plot of revenge against these two students who killed this teacher's daughter. Bro, this is like quintessential like thriller. And like, listen, is it perfect? No. There's like a few things that are like kind of factually incorrect, and then also just like weird and like slightly homophobic. It's like a whole AIDS milk thing. It's a weird thing. Okay, I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna say it right now. Don't support that shit at all. If you get past that, bro, which is like, I don't think I've ever said that before. I don't think I've ever been like, let me recommend you this book. Just read it and get past the homophobia. Like, but it's just like a slight smudge on the absolute masterpiece of this book. Also, I think it was written in the 90s. Anyway, I think you should read it if you haven't. I blew through it in a fucking day. It was a one sitting kind of book. I haven't talked about this book, I think, for like a while. And I was so happy when I realized that I was gonna be able to talk about it with you today, here, now. And that is Mary by Nat Cassidy. I think Mary might have like changed my life. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is the kind of book where like I read it and I was like, wait a minute, is that my brain chemistry changing itself? Like, might have like temporarily cured my depression. And not only that, Nat Cassidy, even just as like a person, stunning. Like, I love that man exponentially. He might be my favorite cisgendered man, to be honest. This is about, of course, a woman named Mary. Mary's like in her 50s, right? And she works at this bookstore. She's not having the best time in her life. Specifically, like this 1 week has just been like literally going nowhere with her. Like, first of all, she went to the doctor and she was like, hey, doc, I'm looking in the mirror, how people just like look in the mirror, and I'm seeing myself, but I'm seeing myself as a fucking corpse, doc. What the fuck is going on? And the doctor was like, oh, you're menopausal, you're a woman, so you're crazy. You probably don't even understand what I'm saying because you're just a bird-brained bitch, but you know, it'll go away. Just drink water. Just like lose weight or whatever. And so Mary leaves that encounter. She goes to work at her bookstore job. And her bookstore boss is like, Mary, you're old as fuck. You're old. You're old. Like you come in and I can just like smell the baby powder on you. Like, it's crazy. Like the rose perfume and the baby powder. That's what I smell. And Sensodyne, which is weird. But either way, you're fired. Because you're old and we need to go in like a younger direction. Maybe this is illegal, Mary, but I don't know. I'm just like a young guy who's just like business minded. You probably wouldn't get it because you're old. Yeah. Sucks to be you. Oh, so bad. So Mary goes home, talks to her porcelain dolls, you know, normal stuff. Then gets a call from her Aunt Nadine, who's like, Mary, come back to your hometown and visit and help me out or whatever. So Mary is like, well, I've got nothing else to fucking do. Like, I'm crazy and I'm unemployed. Like, what else am I gonna do? So she goes to her hometown, and that's when the story begins. That's when things happen. I'm not gonna say too much, but that's what happens. I could, and actually maybe I should. I think I would like worship this book. Like, you know how that Scientologist guy wrote a book and then like created Scientology over it or whatever? I want to do that, but with Mary, but like also not like be weird about it either. I wouldn't want to like be like, give me thousands of dollars to be a 4th level wizard. No, I would just like, actually maybe I should. Anyway, Nat, if you want to collaborate with me and we can start a religion based on your book, please let me know. I would love to collaborate with you in that way. Next up, I have Blood Cruise by Matt Stransberg. This is about a bunch of people. Specifically, we're following this kid named Albin. Albin is this young Asian boy getting onto this cruise ship like ferry situation with his family, his adoptive family. He has his dad, his mom, his aunt, and then his cousin with him. Him and his cousin used to be like really, really close like a year ago, but then they moved away. They haven't really talked since she moved, but now that they're back, it's like, oh my gosh, hello, whatever. But the cousin is like gotten like too cool for school kind of vibes. Like, she's just like a bitch. She's just like a tiny little teenage bitch. That's all she is. But Albin is like, oh my God, my cousin's so cool and like I'm not cool. But that's like the least of Albin's worries, because also on this cruise ship, other passengers are boarding, and among them are vampires. Specifically 2. There's like a woman and a child. If you looked at them a little bit too closely, a little bit too long, you would notice that there is something off about them. Like, the woman is wearing like makeup, but it's way too thick. It's like spackled onto her face. It's not helping anything. And like looking at her, you would be like, okay, what's going on for you to look that way with makeup on? Like, what is it like underneath the makeup? Eventually, one person is bitten and turned into a vampire. And from that person, they bite other people. And those people bite people. And soon it becomes a fucking nightmare. The who and who of contagious diseases. At first, I was kind of like, oh, this is kind of like a thriller vibe. No. This is horror, okay? People are getting eaten. The vampires are more of like a zombie vibe than a vampire vibe. It's crazy. And I really fucking loved this. And I feel like this would be such a good summer read. Next up, we have a book that I'm sure you've read, but I figured I should mention it just in case. That is Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. I'm sure you know. I'm sure you've read it. Everybody's read it. Who hasn't read this? But just in case you don't know, this is about this girl named Noemi. Noemi one day gets like a phone call. She gets a phone call from her cousin. Her cousin has been living in like Mexico on her new husband's property, like in his like family home with like his family. One day her cousin calls and she's like, I had this tiny little lip liner. Hello, Noemi. Yeah, could you just like come? Could you just like come to the estate? Just for like a little visit. I just feel like I really need family right now. So Noemi is like, what? Are you okay? Are you okay? And her cousin is like, yeah, totally. Everything's fine. Everything's great. I'm so happy. I'm really happy. I just need somebody here, you know? So Noemi is like concerned. Noemi's like, I gotta go. So she goes to her cousin's husband's house. And all I can really say is that a bunch of fuck shit goes on. This is just, there's a cloud card in this book. This is just like the epitome of like Gothic literature, but with like the most eccentric characters. It's like the craziest ending. Like the way that I was literally disgusted at the end. The last book that I want to talk to you about, I've been saying perfect summer read, blah, blah, blah. What I mean is this book. This book is the perfect summer read, and that is The Ruins by Scott Smith. You thought I wasn't going to mention this book, didn't you? You were like, oh, Jordalen's over it. I'm never over it. I think I've read this book 3 times, and each and every single fucking time, I love it more and more and more. Like, I never stop loving this book, ever. Like, it's perfect in my head. This is about a group of Americans. They're like in Mexico. They're fucking around and finding out. Basically, they meet this like German dude. Also, there's 4 Americans and then this German dude. And this German dude is like, hey, my brother went like somewhere. He hasn't come back. He's like missing. I'm gonna go try to find him. The Americans are like, oh my God, we'll totally go with you. Like, what are friends for? We met each other 13 hours ago. We're like basically siblings, all of us. They go with this German dude to find his brother. They end up at this like Mayan ruin. And it's kind of like, it's like at the top of a hill basically. And so they get to the top, and on the way down, they see that the people who are indigenous to the land are like surrounding them at the bottom of the hill. And they're like, okay, that's fucking weird, but like whatever. I guess they just like wanted to sightsee or something. I don't know. They try to come down the hill. That's when the people who are from this island, from this part of Mexico, start opening fire and are like speaking, I think, in Spanish. And I don't think any of them speak Spanish. Maybe they do. I can't remember. But either way, they're not allowed to leave the top of the hill. The people who live in this area, they know something that the Americans do not know. And are like, you're not coming down. No. You're staying there forever. So they have no way to escape. They do eventually learn why they're not allowed to come down. And it's not good. It's not great. Bro, this book is just perfection. Like, and like I know some people like don't like Scott Smith the way that I like Scott Smith, which is like in complete devotion. Do you know what I mean? Like I feel like honestly, Mary and then this book, religions immediately. I'm saying if you have not read this, you need to. And I just say the people who don't like this book, of which there are few, I think, are crazy, are insane, and don't have good taste. Just saying. I'm just saying. Can I have an opinion? God. Anyway, my friends, my family, my familia. Thank you so much for being here, for joining me for this video. It's so much fun. Oh my gosh. I love talking to you about books and talking about horror and being kooky and crazy. It's just so much fun when you're around. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know down below if you've read any of these books, what you thought of them. If you have other recommendations for summer horror. Thank you again also to Temu for sponsoring this video. Don't forget also to hit subscribe because we talk about spooky shit, talk about creepy shit, talk about the summer where Hikaru died and shit. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in my next one. Bye. Goodbye, Tiffany. See you later. Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye.